ex post pilot sounds like a contradiction in terms. Give me 10 seconds or 20 seconds and I'll explain a bit more. First, you are thinking now about telling a great business story, whether to a client, some investors, or your boss, and you've put together the classic ingredients that one finds. You've got some customer interviews, you've got some competitor anecdotes, you've got a bit of financial modeling, you've discussed with the people who will be tasked with implementing your initiatives, etc., etc. And I would like to invite you to think about one more piece of the jigsaw to tell a great business story. And that's the notion of where and when, if at all, has the company done this before? And what typically happens, and here I've seen it countless times working with various organizations for the last 20 years, is nothing is really new. Any initiative that you come up with, there is a variant thereof that has been undertaken in the past. But often the company may not remember it. Okay? Now, can you see that as a way to convince people of the value of undertaking this new initiative, if you can say, oh, by the way, not only is it, financially rewarding, customers want it, no other competitor is doing that, etc., etc. But if you can say, and people, we have been doing it all along. Wow. Now all of a sudden, people don't ask themselves, can we ever do it? They ask themselves, okay, is it a good idea to do it now? The level of pushback is very different. Now, typically, where are you likely to find what I call ex post rationalization or ex post pilot? Well, typically, first thing is, if the company has multiple reasonably autonomous sites, so very common in retail or for very global firms, you'll have lots of different outposts. And the central function, or the center, may not necessarily have complete knowledge of everything that's been done. So once you've identified your initiative, one of the things you do is you sort of scurry the network, either the various shops, the various outlets, or the various countries, and ask them, have we done something a little bit similar before? And statistically, you're going to get, depending on the width or the breadth of your network, you're going to get a few examples. People say, yeah, actually, 5 years ago we did that. It was quite successful. Then we stopped it for these and these reasons, which may have changed now. But it gives you a great way to tell the story. If you could say, oh, and in Germany, our subsidiary there has been doing that all along, and it's proving very successful. Wow. Another sort of source of likely ex post rationalization is if the business iterates quite frequently. So fast-moving consumer goods or media or professional services. FMCGs have launched lots of different products. Media firms or fashion businesses have lots of one-off products or campaigns. Professional services do proposals and projects very regularly. It's very likely that the management systems haven't captured all the examples. And if you look into the attic, you'll find a few instances of having done that project before. And then the third one, a third really good sort of clue, is if the new initiative breaks existing company norms or rules. Can you see that? If that's the case, then anybody else who may have already engaged in that new initiative has probably kept it quite quiet because it was breaking the norms and the rules. And so one of the things you do is you get and go, yeah, we're toying with this particular idea. Anybody has had the idea before. You don't necessarily ask anybody has done it because it breaks the rule and people are not sure if they should raise their hand to acknowledge having broken rules. But if you say, has anybody thought about it before, you might get some response back. And then when you then engage with these the respondents a bit more privately, they may acknowledge that they've actually been doing it. Okay? And so, quirky as it sounds, I'd like you to pause for a second and realize that a pilot does not always have to happen after an initiative is launched. If you're thinking about an initiative, ask yourself, have we done this before? And now, can we ex post call this instance the pilot? Okay? So let's see a few more ways to tell a great business story.